I am from a world of agriculture, and I'm going to speak about agriculture. I'm sorry. However, I hope that you guys can get learning from me in the sense of strategy, maybe, like we've just heard about, and also publicity. So I live in an agricultural world, and I'm going to speak about agriculture, but please be aware of some of the clever things we've done to promote what we do and the way in which we've done them. Okay, so I'm talking about the HandsFree Hectare, which was an Innovate UK funded project between ourselves at Harper University and Precision Decisions. It then went on to receive funding from the HDB, which I'll mention again later. But yeah, that's the starting point. Okay, so agriculture then. There we go. Straight into agriculture. What is the point? Well, it's the ability for the few to feed the many through scientific and technical means. So we have a growing world population, and we need to feed all those people with less water and less space and less hydrocarbons, etc., etc. So in order to do that, we're going to have to be more efficient, we're going to have to reduce waste, we're going to have to be more sustainable. And precision farming is the thing that has come out of that, and the want to treat fields of crops, cereal crops is my world, to treat them as subfields and then ideally down to plant-by-plant level. And some of the stuff we've seen today in horticulture obviously already is plant-by-plant level quite a lot of the time. So we're behind in the world of cereal agriculture, but this is the aim and ambition and what we're trying to achieve. And we want to do the 4 rights of precision farming, so do the right thing at the right time in the right way and in the right... Oh, so I've missed one of the rights. I'll move on though, it won't be that important. There are 4. Okay, so as well as our aim to try and feed that growing world, we also have some problems. We have reduced rural labour. You share that problem, probably more than we do in a way. So that's led us to have really big machines, ever larger machines. So rather than 5 people on a farm driving 5 tractors, we'll have 1 person driving 1 tractor. Limited time windows. So less and less time, sporadic weather conditions to put our inputs into the crop. So again, ever larger machines to make sure things happen in time. One-upmanship. This is a really big one. Farmers love going to the pub and explaining how their tractor or combine is bigger and shinier than the one that you have. And then your neighbour will go and buy a bigger and shinier tractor. And this should not be overlooked as a laughing point. It's real. My brother tows his 4-metre drill with a 250 horsepower tractor as of about a month ago. A year before, he was towing it with 200 horsepower. And about 4 or 5 years ago, he was towing it with 150 horsepower. Same drill. Tractor's got 100 horsepower bigger. Why? Mostly because he likes going to the pub and talking about the size of his tractor with his mates. So what did you, when you were at Farmers Weekly, Jane, did you say it was the sales of Farmers Weekly, if they had a big tractor on the top, what was it, 10,000 copies?
We'd sell thousands more copies of Farmers Weekly if it had the right tractor on the front.
So there you go. So bigger, shinier sells, okay? And it shouldn't. But however, there is a problem with these big machines. We have a lack of resolution. So here you go, 40-metre boom sprayer, quite common now in certain parts of the country. But yet the needs and requirements of the crop within that 40-metre boom width will be different. And yet we're still blanket treating it all the same with a single boom. So that's not very good. These big machines haven't got very much resolution. And we have this thing called the yield plateaus. That's wheat yields since the year 2000. Have basically flatlined, so everybody who's sold any farmer a drill that's going to solve all their problems, or a chemical, or a new type of seed, or whatever that's going to make you more money, frankly, it hasn't worked. Okay, and largely the reason that people look to with this is due to the state of our soils, and there's a slightly over-exaggerated version there where we've got complete crop failure due to compaction. And the reason for that is these big, large machines that everyone wants to go and buy. So there's an alternative future. There's a future where we use small, scuttly robots to go out into the field and treat every plant as an individual plant and put a lot less damage into the soil. These small, smart machines that look a little bit like vacuum cleaners are going to be infinitely more precise. So that plant-by-plant resolution, no compaction. They'll operate in swarms, so we're going to have 10 or 15 of these in a field, so it's going to cover the same area, so we can still get the work rates that we need. And we're not going to get rid of any more jobs. We've already lost all the jobs in cereal farming, so we're still going to need some people, because if you've got 10 of these in a field, then one of them's going to need picking up when it falls in a ditch or something. So there's going to be some job retention, there's going to be some programming to be done, there's going to be something to do. There's also a safety implication. So these little small machines, you're going to make a robot, something robotic. If you say, you know, make a tractor robotic, that's a bit scary. I robotised the quad track we saw on the page before. It goes wrong. It's going to drive through the fence and through the hedge, over the road, through the house, kill the baby. If I automate a thing the size of a vacuum cleaner, it's going to reach the ditch, fall in the ditch, and the story stops. Okay? So an intrinsic safety benefit. I just did some maths one day when I was a student. This is when I was doing my master's. If I plough a field, just like here, I move about 1,875 tonnes of soil per hectare. That is how much soil I am moving. If I move a thing in engineering world, that means I'm doing some work. I'm using some energy. If I go to a system where I punch plant with a little, some sort of drill bit that shoots a grain into the ground, I can reduce the amount of earth I move to essentially 11.2 tonnes. So if that's a 150 time difference in the amount of soil I move, well, that's probably going to lead to 150 times different in the amount of energy I use as well. So there's some good ideas there. However, that picture of a vacuum cleaner doesn't really make me excited. It makes me a bit cold inside. I'm from an agricultural background. I like tractors too. This picture here, now this makes me warm and fuzzy because this is a T20 and it was the first tractor I ever drove, the first tractor that many people in this room might have driven as well. And if you think about this tractor, it does a lot of the things that I want from my robots. It's smaller and lighter and does less soil damage. There's no compaction issues back in the 50s when these were running around. It's more precise because the implements are only 2 meters wide rather than 40 meters wide. So maybe I don't need to completely reinvent the wheel, sorry to say. Maybe I just need to look at alternatives of the wheel. Maybe I could do robotic small T20s. Maybe I could, you know, I can still have 5 of these, but I don't need 5 drivers if they're all robots. Okay, so that was the idea. Could we farm with smaller tractors that looked like tractors, but they were robot tractors? And this was with my colleague, Jonathan Gill. Jonathan Gill is a drone developer, pilot, robotics engineer, and he was using this thing called the open source community to develop drones. So there's geeks in bedrooms all around the world hacking mobile phones and turning them into flying machines. And they work. They come out of the box, they fly, they land back at your feet. They work so well that now it's become an industry and you can all go and buy one from Maplins. No, you can't because Maplins won't bust. But you know, the point is, this stuff is cheap. Yeah, 500 quid buys you a drone. Yet, automation system for a tractor was, you know, everyone was talking hundreds of thousands of pounds. So we said, no, it doesn't have to be that much. Let's take the brain from a drone and put it in a tractor. And by doing that, we can make a robot tractor cheaply, quickly, and we can do it, and we can actually go farming with it. This was the main plan. There's loads of videos of robot tractors on YouTube. Very boring if you go and watch them all. None of them are doing anything. They're driving around car parks and rugby pitches and labs and things. So let's actually do some farming with our robot tractor and try and change a perception of where this stuff is. Because when I show people the picture of the Hoover, they will think, oh, that's 50 years away. So if I show them a tractor doing some farming, maybe I'll change that perception. And the way we're going to do that is social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We noticed that why does anyone care about the space race? Why does anyone care about NASA? Because they tell you when they're going to launch a rocket. They tell you 2 years in advance, so you can count down and wait for that moment when it might lift off and blow up, which is why I watch it. Yeah? So if I tell you that I'm going to make a robot tractor, you might tune in to watch my robot tractor go wrong. And I don't care if you do. That's brilliant. In fact, it's great if you tune in to watch it go wrong, because when it doesn't, I can feel a bit smug. So the point was, let's try and let's take people on our journey. Let's not be academics and do it in secret and then show you an edited video afterwards. Let's take you on the journey. So this is what it looks like. It's very cheap. I've got loads of too many slides, so I'll run over it. But it's GPS-based. You put in waypoints. The tractor drives round. We have a mission control. We take video signals back so we can watch what's going on. We do agronomy remotely as well because we're idiots. So we're not just not driving the tractors. We don't go in the field at all. So we use drones and scout vehicles to go in and monitor our crop. Here's what it looks like. There's a minute video. This is our tractor driving itself. You can see that it's small and looks a little bit like a T20. It's not. It's Japanese and it's four-wheel drive. And it's actually 40 horsepower, not 20, but it's about the same size. And here's it direct drilling in the first year. Now, we got funding. The funding kicked off in October 16. This is drilling a crop in April 17. So within 6 months, we went from nothing, I mean nothing, to a robot in a field doing a job. Okay? And in fact, the tractor didn't even turn up till December. So 4 months of having a tractor, it was robotically farming. by not quite reinventing the wheel, just putting different bits of the wheel together. Here's the crop scout driving through, here's some spraying. You can see it's not very straight and we've got misses and it wasn't perfect, but frankly, this didn't take very long and it didn't cost very much. There's the crop growing. Here it is. It looks awful now. Shocking. Anyway. Take notice of that. Take notice. Here's our combine. Look at our combine. Look at that. How cool is that? A robot combine. And at this point, we had done a world first. We were the world's first people to grow a cereal crop fully autonomously without anyone going in the field. So this is in the UK. This is in Shropshire. This is on a cheap budget, and not very many of us, and we're being innovative in a way. Okay, so we went in the field 10 times. I'm going to skip right through. I've got loads of stuff. So what do you do with barley? Because that was what we grew. Sorry, we grew spring barley. What do you grow with barley? Well, we thought we'd make some beer. We had a few issues with making beer, so we made gin. That was good. Yeah. And then the HDB said, we'll fund you for a second year. Well, we kind of asked and said, well, could you fund us? Because look, we've done a good thing, but it's a bit wiggly, and people seem to like it, but it's not perfect. So if you give us a bit more money, we'll do a bit better. So we looked at remote agronomy. So we've got things like spore traps, tasting the air to see what diseases are about. We've got loads of weather stations. I can't avoid people trying to give me weather stations to put in my field, so I've got multiple. And from an agronomy point of view, this is quite interesting to me. In terms of these small machines and potential capability. This is our tractor, bit of a grainy image, putting some fertiliser on March 14th this year, second year of of the project. 117 days of 160 days it rained in Shropshire last year in our field. On the one day it didn't rain, in the timing where we need to put some fertiliser on, our tractor is small enough, light enough, nimble enough that we could go out and spray put our fertiliser on without causing any impact. You can't even see where it's driven. Nobody else got their T1 on in time round us because the tractors were going to sink up to their guts. Okay, so smaller, nimbler machines have made us be able to react a bit more to the weather. So that's quite an interesting output as well. So second year, things got a bit better. Here's the tractor driving. Hopefully it's not too long and too laborious, but what you'll see in a second, I should have cut more of this off obviously, is it's a straighter. And look, there it is, filling in perfectly between two previous runs. It's quite good. And this only took another, 4 months of development, tweaking of this open source stuff. What I should say is that the power in this is just how good this open source things are. We've just taken it and tweaked it. You can see the tractor drove faster the second year. So now we've got a work rate of about 0.5 hectare an hour. And our tractor is quite cheap. So potentially in future we could have 4 of these for the same price as a 200 horsepower tractor, and our 4 would be then having a spot rate of about 2 hectares an hour, and then we run it for 20 hours a day, and we've got 40 hectares a day output, which is kind of quite good, similar to a 200 horsepower tractor. So we're on par there. Here's it spraying, and you see, look, we've got nice straight tram lines this year, and it's not a perfect crop. We missed some timings, but better than the first year. Marvellous. And in fact, because we had so little compaction in the ground and it was so dry, you can see all these weird crazing patterns. And that's all sort of different biology going on within our soils, and we've never seen that before. Okay, so that's the difference. That's what it kind of looked like. Patchy first year, less patchy second year with the winter wheat. We were going to plan and do a unload on the move. That was the plan. Well, here we are, second year. Here's our combine running. Oh, got a bit of over-the-top stuff. So again, combine similar to first year, ran nice and straight. We slightly improved the efficiency of the cutting. But here we go. What our dream was to get an unload on the move because we thought it would break the internet. And there it is. It's a tiny snapshot. There's a longer shot of it. We did it about 12 times. I can't believe that's the only footage we've got. But anyway, we did unload on the move, so that was good. And your money wasn't wasted, so that was good as well. Okay, so now that's all very agriculture. What can you guys take away from this? Well, what we managed to achieve was some good publicity. Okay, agriculture is always hounded by bad publicity. Glyphosate, neonicotinoids, TB, whatever you think, it's always got bad publicity in the mainstream press. We, by telling the world about a good news story, and me being a little bit erratic at various conferences, has managed to make our project go all the way around the world. We've been in 85 different countries we've been reported. We've had we've had something like 1,200 republications of our press releases and stories on the internet. It's gone a bit mental, really. Our followers on social media, to be quite honest, aren't as good as I wish they were, but they've been good enough to spark this mainstream media interest, and that was all that really mattered, because they ran with it. So the New Yorker, New China, the Hindu, it's been everywhere. We've had some political impact. There's Michael Gove and Owen Paterson out seeing the tractor last year. Michael Gove actually had a go at driving the tractor via remote control. Sir Mark Warport, he's like I want to say chief scientific advisor. He's not. He's some sort of thing like that for the government. He's been out, kicked the tyres of the tractor. That's quite cool. He's very critical of research, and he wasn't of us, so that was all right. Princess Anne, she goes out and talks about us. Michael Gove talks about us at conferences all the time. Why? Because he can remember 3 words: hands-free hectare. Yeah? Okay. I'll tell you another few words he remembers. He also remembers another 3 words, which are Fitbits. Oh no, it's 4 words. Fitbits for cows. Okay. So when he came to Harper, he saw everything that we do at Harper, which is quite a lot. And the 2 things he talks about are pedometers on cows. Who the chap who was showing him it went, oh, it's a bit like a Fitbit for a cow. Bang, remembered that. And this is hands-free hectare. Remembered that. So now we constantly get mentioned for those 2 things. So give stuff, snappy titles, people remember it. Who'd have thought? We're in the Health and Harmony paper. My ambition in life was to make some sort of political impact, so I may as well retire, I feel. We've been around the world talking at conferences. We won a Queen's Anniversary Prize. We won a BBC Food and Farming Award. Who would have thought that? That's fairly mainstream stuff we managed to get ourselves into as technologists. The IAGRI are the Institution of Agricultural Engineers, and they've awarded us a prize for sort of teamwork and collaboration. Implications then, well, this stuff doesn't have to be expensive. Precision farming is often seen as a really expensive thing, but everything on this tractor to make it a robot costs about £10,000. The only reason you pay more than that to commercial people is because they're robbing you. They developed the stuff that you're using 10 years ago. They paid for their development 10 years ago, and they just haven't bothered to put the price down. Yeah? No other industry do you put up with that. Your phone either gets cheaper or better. Yet an auto steer system on a tractor is neither cheaper nor better. So what's going on there? Yeah, nobody at John Deere or AGCO like me. What's going to happen in this sector then? Well, Goldman Sachs reckon that agricultural robotics and smaller tractors working in swarms are going to be worth 240 billion by the year 2050, and you can see numbers that are bigger around that mark or even bigger in various places. Here's Kubota out in Japan pledging that they were going to release a full range of robotic equipment by the end of this year. That was sort of summer last year they made that announcement. It's all gone very quiet, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. The orange one is Swarm Farm. That's a robotic sprayer, small, light, nimble, all the sort of things I've been talking about, that's releasing in Australia. C.Run is in Canada, not quite as small and as light. You couldn't really tell from that picture, but it is quite a big seed drill that drives itself around seeding, and you can take that out and put a sprayer in it as well. So we're not the only people barking up this tree of robotic farming. There are other people doing it too. What are the technical implications? What are the jobs? Well, we're going to need skilled fleet managers. This picture is from the 1960s, and this was a prediction of agriculture in the year 2000. So we're just like 18 years too late. But the point is, we're going to need that person in his bubble. Well, now, they might not be in the bubble. They might be on their smartphone somewhere else. But we're going to need that person who's still interacting with these machines and managing that. We're going to need agronomists who can deal with this IoT and these sensors and drones, giving them data all the time. We're going to need programs. We're going to need agricultural roboticists, people who understand both robotics and agriculture. I have to admit that I'm much more on the agriculture end than I am on the robotics, and the stuff we're doing is not as high-tech as any of the people you've heard from earlier today. But the point is, we've gone and done it in the real world and made a bit of impact about it, okay? So communications and infrastructure, yeah, well, to make these things work, we're going to have to be able to connect them to the ether to get into the cloud and all those things. And we all know that connectivity in the rural world is a bit of an issue. Okay, so here's one of these strategy things. The reason this has worked is because us three love it. This was mine and Jonathan's idea. Martin, we employed early doors to be our main man. And through working in a sort of skunkworks model where we're from different companies but we work under one name and we absolutely have ownership over what we do, we have made this happen. This wouldn't have happened if we were 9 till 5, clocking in, clocking out employees. This is our dream, this is our vision, and we've made it happen. We've also had collaboration. So we've had loads of companies, and I missed it on a slide earlier, but like Hutchinson's and Bayer and Yara and all sorts of companies have backed us and have been at the end of the phone when we've needed some help. And they haven't been interfering, but they've offered us support when needed, and that is really powerful. We've utilised technology developed by other industries, because frankly, we don't have the money in agriculture, whereas the automotive and etc. do, so let's just nick their tech. And then the word Youthquake was last year's word of the year. I did this for Oxford Farmer Conference earlier in the year. Youthquake was all about political awareness of the young, and I was sort of saying, well, if there was ever an industry that needs a Youthquake, it's agriculture. It needs shaking up from the bottom. So there you go. That's my sort of strategy piece on how you can maybe push innovation. What do we do now? Okay, so we're working just as a takeaway. We're trying to get rid of this mess, which is loads of different radio communication channels within a single field. And we're working on in a project called Rural First, 5G Rural First, with Cisco and the BBC and BT, all sorts of big companies, and we're a tiny little part. But we're having a 5G network put up on the Harper campus, and we're going to move our tractor so all of the data transfer is all done by a 5G link. So that's quite cool. And just shows that we're sort of now punching above our weight in terms of what we're doing. And we've also taken money from the sort of car sector of funding, and we're working with this Australian company called FarmScan, who are an auto steer company essentially, and we're looking at the drive to field stuff. So negotiating farm tracks, opening and shutting gates and barn doors, what happens if a car approaches, what happens if someone steps out in front. At the moment, the tractor just works in the field. By June next year, the tractor will drive itself to the field. I think this is really near the end. As of 2 days ago, we submitted an application to be the world's first hands-free farm, and we're going to go for multiple fields, multiple crops. This was the initial vision. We were going to do IoT and smart implements and automated replenishment. Sadly, we've had to sort of rein back some of that, but we're going to be looking at multiple tractors. So we're never going to get the work rates from our single tractor, so we're going to work on putting 3 or 4 in the same field at the same time. We're going to do that driving around the farm thing. We're going to be monitoring the implements a lot more, so I know when it's blocked or whatever else. So that's all hopefully going to come through in some funding that we've just submitted for. And I say, this is the sort of thing that also Michael Gove talks about. He goes, oh, the hands-free hectare is great, and we need to see a hands-free farm. So I hope that that gets down to the people who are making the decision on our application. I think that's me done. There we go. Thank you very much. The whole reason my project has worked is through social media and following and sharing. So I please encourage you to find us and follow us and show people down the pub a tractor that drives itself. Thank you very much.